This is All Things Cancer, the podcast of the National Foundation for Cancer Research, hosted by NFCR's President and CEO, Dr. Sujuan Ba. Dr. Ba is a globally recognized cancer research advocate and visionary leader. All Things Cancer episodes will explore the hindsight, insights, and foresight of cancer, from research discoveries to patient care advances, and how NFCR and our collaborators are working to accelerate the process of making cures possible.
Hello, I'm Dr. Sujuan Ba. Welcome to All Things Cancer. In today's episode, I have the privilege of speaking with Cheryl, a stage 4 melanoma survivor whose determination and optimism helped her overcome extraordinary challenges. Cheryl shares how she navigated a difficult diagnosis, found her way into a groundbreaking clinical trial which saved her life, and turned her journey into a message of hope for others. I'm so glad you can join us for this inspiring conversation. Let's dive in. Hi, Cheryl.
Hello.
So wonderful to see you again.
Nice to see you. And thank you for inviting me here today. I'm really excited.
Oh, I am looking forward to our conversation. You have an amazing story, and you have so many wonderful insights to share. Whatever you share with us will be very helpful, not only to me personally, to the National Foundation for Cancer Research, but I also think many cancer patients will benefit from your journey.
Thank you.
So I know it may not be pleasant to think back. I would love to hear the moment you got diagnosed. Anything that you could share about that terrifying moment of cancer diagnosis?
It all started for me November of 2009. I had just gone through a whole bunch of tests, trying to figure out what was wrong with me.
So you already...
So I had already felt something. It had started in September. I had gone to go running and my body kind of short-circuited. I wasn't sure what was going on, but it was interesting enough. It was my dog who made me lay down and relax. And she was a puppy, always ready to go. And she jumped on me and wanted to take a nap. And I was like, that's really odd, but okay. So I laid down and I woke up and I still felt funny. I felt like I was having a stroke.
Oh, wow.
So I walked down to the end of the driveway to get our trash cans, and I just kind of out of it a bit. And my neighbor, he was a general practitioner. And I said, "Hey, George, man, I'm not feeling so good. I feel a little, lightheaded, and I'm not really sure." And he's like, "Well, you want me to take you to the doctor, or maybe you just need to drink some water?" So I'm like, "All right." So I went and I drank some water, and I still didn't feel better. So knowing that, being a mom, I knew my son was going to get off the bus in a little bit. So I drove to Reston Hospital. They immediately took me back to the ER, did a test, a few CAT scans, and they found lesions all over my body. And they weren't really sure what they were at the time. They were thinking maybe it was MS. And through that process, we just kept asking the questions. And we were going from neurologist to general practitioner. And until finally, my general practitioner, who happened to be a family friend, ordered a PET scan. And he had told me, they were pushing these PET scans for forever. I've never had a patient that I've really ordered one for yet. So he ordered it for me.
How long did it take for him to take this, to write this order?
He was very quick because he had seen the progression of the hospital, going to the neurologist, and he didn't want to do any more tests. He just felt it was his gut.
And that's the right gut decision.
Yes.
Because a lot of people got delayed.
Yes.
Going from doctor to doctor, test to test.
2 days later, I had the PET. And he called me back into the office, and my husband was traveling. And I was like, "I can go in. It'll be fine." And I walked in the office, and he looked at me, and he looked really upset. And I was asking my doctor, "Pierre, what's wrong? Like, what happened? Like, did you have a bad day?" And he's like, "Are you alone?" And I was like, no, my mother-in-law's in the waiting room because she was afraid. She didn't want me to go to the doctor alone. And she came in and she's Greek, big personality. And she sits down and he's like, I don't know what it is, but this is your PET scan and you have lesions all over your body.
Oh my God.
Your lung, liver, lymph nodes. I had 36 lesions in my liver. And I was like, huh. So the whole light up thing, because I didn't know. Who's ever seen a PET scan before? It's bad.
Yeah.
And he's like, yeah, it's pretty bad. And I thought to myself, people survive cancer every day. He told me not this kind of cancer, no matter what it is. And I was like, well.
Wow, that's a scary statement.
That was a scary statement. I ended up talking to some family friends. I ended up having a doctor's appointment at Sloan Kettering. But little did I know, being cancer naive, I didn't have a pathology. We only assumed that the primary, because most of the lesions looked like they began in the lungs, that it was lung cancer. So I went and saw a lung cancer doctor. And the lung cancer doctor met with me, told me about the treatments, and he said, but I really can't do anything because we don't have a pathology.
Yeah.
So
the first step.
First step. And so I went back to Reston. They ordered, I met with a surgical oncologist. They did the biopsy in the lungs. And it took like, oh my gosh, 40 days. 40 days to get a final pathology. Because the parents, it was a very long time because they could not figure out what kind of cancer it was. It presented way different than it was.
So that was back in 2009?
That was back in 2009. So then...
that was the early time of the precision medicine.
Very early time. And so my lung cancer doctor from Sloan Kettering called me the night before Thanksgiving and said, you don't have lung cancer. You have stage 4 melanoma. And I was like, oh, skin cancer. That's better, right? And he's like, yeah, no, it's not better. He referred me to another doctor on their team. I went to go see him, and it took me a couple weeks. And I got in to see him around the first or second week in December. And I came into the office and he explained to me and my husband that melanoma treatments hadn't changed much in 25 years. Having an advanced disease, there were not many, there really weren't any options at this point. And he said, it's the Christmas time and we're looking into trying to get some clinical trials. But frankly, whatever you do at this point is just going to make you sicker and speed up the cancer. And I was like, whoa, like, you're not going to treat me? He told me to go enjoy the holidays because it might be my last. We were both shocked and my husband laughed and he threw up. And I was just sitting there in shock going, this can't be right, right? But what he did tell me is that there was a drug they were working on getting approval for called PLX 4032, and it was a clinical trial. And if they got that clinical trial, they would be able to treat me because I wouldn't pass the normal clinical trials because I was naive. I had never been treated. I never failed out of anything. So there was a lot of problems with treating me.
Yeah, usually they are not used as a first-line treatment.
Correct.
Back then.
Back then. We ended up having a great Christmas. Called him back January 5th. And Sloan Kettering had not gotten approved for the trial. And basically, they didn't have any options. So my husband and I kind of took it on ourselves to do research and find out where this trial was going to land, which took us to the Anderson Clinic. It took us to Vanderbilt. We went to Angeli's clinic. We went to Dallas.
It shouldn't be this hard for
anybody that had the PLX, they had the phase 2 study, which I did not qualify for.
Yeah.
We started calling labs because we saw that the phase 1 trial had gotten approved somewhere in California. And so we just basically called labs until somebody answered. and paused a bit. And we figured that might be the one. And that was Dr. Antonio Reed. So I called my doctor up at Sloan Kettering. I had his card.
Your persistence.
I'm very persistent. I'm in sales, man. You can't take no for an answer, right?
Right.
And
Amazing.
I called the doctor, and he was at a conference in Berlin where Dr. Rebus was. And he told me that he would relay him the message. He goes, I don't know if they're enrolling. I don't know what, and I don't know how you found out that he has the trial, basically, right? And 2 hours later, Dr. Rebus called me.
Oh, that's
and
amazing.
At that point, my life changed. 2 days later, I flew out and found myself at UCLA. I live in the DC metro area. Started the enrollment for a phase 1 clinical trial.
Took a lot of effort from you and your family. I wish the medical community would make it much easier for cancer patients.
Yeah, and what we learned quickly is that the system is not connected. Nobody knows what one center is doing versus the other. Clinical trials, there's a lot of great options out there, but everybody's kind of in their own silo.
And there is only one website that's government
Right.
Clinical trial network, but you can't really figure out.
And my husband and I come from an analytical background, so we put in a bunch of variables in it. We went through it, but in person, looking at all this stuff,
exactly. Many people would have.
You would just shut down.
Yeah.
Yes.
But you survived. You triumphed, and
I did.
You're a miracle, you know.
I was enrolled in the phase 1 trial at UCLA. There were 20
phase
patients.
1 trial. That was so early. Yeah, that's they were just trying to figure out whether the drug even have any toxicity.
Correct. And what I didn't know, because I was the super responder on the trial, is I never asked to cut down my dosage. I didn't know that was an option. So I had every side effect.
So you were at the highest dosage?
I stayed on the highest dosage for almost 3.5 years.
Oh my God. But that is not the final clinical dosage, right?
It is not. I had the sores all over my body and lost my hair. And it wasn't until I started having problems with my eyesight, my clinical navigator, she was like, oh my gosh, you're still taking, because I was still taking the maximum dosage.
Yes.
So they took it down a little. But at that point, they didn't know.
They didn't know what
they didn't know
clinical
because my tumors reduced immediately by 60%, and they were continuing to reduce, and there was no activity, and everybody else was falling off the trial. So at that point, were we really going to take the chance? So I had some side effects. I moved into vampire status. I couldn't be around light, not even a window. It was even being completely covered, light sensitivity, all this other stuff. But then as they moved on, we got into the 4th and 5th year, they started seeing the switching with the dosage. So then we ramped down a bit. About 6 years into it, we added the MEC, because that then became an approved and that protocol.
You know, you're a hero. You really contributed to this miracle drug for yourself and for so many cancer patients. Thank you for all you have done.
And I think we don't know what we don't know until we get through it. We are literally writing the book, right?
Exactly.
And then that's what Dr. Rivas told me. We are writing the book. We don't know. And then when I asked to go off of it,
even that is unknown.
He told me that most people just stay on it indefinitely. I told him I wanted to try.
Wow. That's a big decision.
It was a big decision.
Were you scared about getting off?
Yes and no. I just wanted a break from the side effects. Even though they had decreased quite a bit. What I was hoping for, as I saw the landscape of cancer treatment, not only melanoma, changed considerably
in the last 15 years.
Yeah, and that was a 10-year period, right?
Yes.
So we went from no options to 5 options in melanoma treatment.
So
Now we have 10
10
options.
options.
And
That's all from decades of research.
yes, decades of research. And the interesting thing is that most of the research that came out of the melanoma, the immunologist science labs are the ones that have gone on to help hundreds of different cancers. So melanoma helped forge the forefront of cancer research.
Yes.
And if you look at that, it's pretty amazing.
If you think about it, cancer is a genetic mutation disease.
Right.
So we used to treat cancer based on where it was found, where it was, but that's wrong approach.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that the last 25 years, 20 years especially, it really showed cancer needed to be treated at the root cause.
Yes.
Mutation pathways. One cancer patient with melanoma might have more similarities with another cancer, and that's how the science is coming
Right.
along.
Yeah. It's the genetic mutations and the
Yeah.
pathways because it was funny because early on, what I didn't understand, there was a liver enzyme that if you didn't have it, you did very badly on on the treatment.
And that's
They
biomarker.
yes. So there's all kinds of things that affect the success of a cancer drug on one patient versus another. That's for sure.
You know, that's what something NFCR was always committed to advancing from the science perspective, molecular level, cellular level, genetic studies. And it's hard as a public charity to raise money just about research. And it's easier to relay the message about particular cancer people have affinity.
They do, but it's all around cracking the human genome.
Exactly. So,
And we've seen, I know Dr. Roger Lowe at UCLA was doing some experiments, or not experiments, doing some testing on, looking at people, studying their DNA and their genomics profiles and how that would affect their cancer outcomes. And through the use of nanotechnology within cancer research labs, you were watching them in a little tray treat thousands of cells of one person's cells with different types of treatment options and what's going to work and what's not.
the last 15 years, this message has really come to the forefront.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not the case even at the time when I joined the foundation.
Yeah.
I joined the foundation in 1999.
Wow.
And back then was all about breast cancer, prostate cancer, liver cancer. You know, everybody was looking at cancer as just cancer types.
Right.
And we always said, whatever research insights we had about genetic mutation studies and molecular mechanism studies can shed light research insights for all types of cancer. It was a challenging message to tell the public, but now I'm glad everybody is accepting that. Not only the scientific community, but the public understood that.
Right.
So we have come a long way.
We have come a long way. And we're seeing, integrated therapies, combination therapies, the vast change in protocol within the advancement of science over the last few years have just been mind-blowing. But we still have so much to go. There's so much more room for improvement. There's so many patients out there that I help navigate that still have no options. Every patient should have the right to fight.
You know, your fighting spirit and the support from your husband is amazing. How do you find comfort from this struggle, trying to get the right information and the right place to go? And when the doctors already told you, we don't have much for you.
I can partially, my husband and I are both, he's He's a financial guy, but we're both salespeople at heart. So we don't take no for an answer. We're entrepreneurs. We own our own businesses. And we know what you're going to struggle. But when you realize that when you're getting diagnosed with cancer, there's a couple things you need to remember to do. One, ask questions.
Yes, always.
Two, don't take no for an answer if they're not giving you options. And three, get a second opinion. I mean,
So
see
critically.
other opinions and have somebody like my husband. I called him my concierge because you don't want to read all that stuff. It could really get to you, right? So he took that role and did the heavy lifting. And I tried to just keep moving forward. I tried to hike and walk, and I have horses and ride and do stuff that I try to keep living. My son, taking him to sports, traveling with him, keep working. I tried just to keep that forward momentum of life. I think maybe
This is so positive that you won the majority of the battle. Yeah. The mental strength is very important. Positive attitude is important. A hopeful spirit, right? So you never give up.
You have to, and people have to have hope. And I think that's the one thing that my advice I would give to any doctor. Don't take people's hope. Our mind is a very powerful tool.
Yes, agree. And what kind of unmet needs you still see right now? I know you've been talking with lots of patients through your wonderful volunteering for the Navigator and also for NFCR and our network. With all those things you heard, you've seen, what are the critically needed areas that we should continue to work hard?
One of the most critical areas is having our oncologists speak to one another, right? That's the hardest thing. And through this journey, through my cancer journey, it's led us and to my connection with my associate Rose Wam to launch 1104 Health, which we are trying to work to connect the local oncologist with the physician investigator and the patient, and keeping it connected and develop a true shared care model. And I think
And work together.
And work together. And I think everything gets so siloed because medicine is a very competitive job, just like any other job, right? People are paid and they get money on
It's a very emotional area.
and a very emotional area.
Many patients, they are connected with their community oncologists.
Yes.
But many fantastic community oncologists.
They're a wonderful community.
And there is some very busy, hectic community oncologists, and they may not be aware of the cutting edge trials, cutting edge.
They don't have time.
They don't have time. And so it's important for the patients to hear different options, and then they can still come back to their community oncologist
And I think
feel comfortable with.
and feel comfortable. And I think what we're really trying to do is developing a tool for those community oncologists to communicate with the investigators, not lose their patient, learn about the treatment options
And work
along the way,
together
and
as a
work
peer.
together
Yes.
to successfully, increase survival rates of cancer.
Working together as a team is so important.
Yeah,
And nobody has all the tools.
It is all about patience. And I think that's, in 2013, I kind of looked back and I was definitely the only person that was still around from my trial.
Oh, wow.
And I was approached by the Melanoma Research Foundation to give back. So I spent 10 years on the board working with them and reaching out to patients and helping to raise money through their organization for research for that cause.
And we're grateful that you are helping us to amplify our message and helping us to get critically needed resources.
Yeah, and it's all about telling your story. So if you're a patient and you have a great story, tell your story. And when you're diagnosed, tell your story. because you never know who's going to help you out there. I mean, for us, we reached out to friends and family in our community to try to get connections, to get doctor's appointments, because it's not easy to get a doctor's appointment. We don't have enough oncologists. They're overworked.
It's hard to become a medical professional, and even harder to be an oncologist.
It is. It is. And we need more.
And your message is just so heartwarming and inspiring. And I know you are writing a book about your journey. Tell me about your book.
I am. So I am, the book is called Terminal Hope. And it's basically the quest for a clinical trial and just my journey. And I hope that what people get out of it, and it is humorous and it's a nice read, but also how important it is to advocate for yourself and how important it is to stop living.
Yeah, exactly. You know, positive living a journey or sad living the journey, you might have very different outcome.
Yeah.
And make every day count.
You have to. But I think your organization, I think why I picked to get involved with the National Foundation for Cancer Research is because you are trying to help initiate research to all cancers, trying to help innovate scientific entrepreneurship. And I think that is a little different call to action than some of the other groups. You have, over $420 million in research grants, which is quite a big undertaking.
We very dedicated team, and we work with wonderful supporters, ambassadors, volunteers, and advisors. It's really about working together, building the platform, building an ecosystem.
Yes.
And we can't just focus on one thing. We believe research saves lives.
Research.
But discovery cannot save lives. You have to make discovery first and then translate the discovery into cures.
Yes.
And that's a long journey.
It is a long journey.
And especially at the front part of it, people need to take risk. Not many people dare to do that. NFCR was set up to take risk in funding early research and discoveries. And now we are also pushing to expand our efforts to taking risk and translating those discoveries into preclinical research, phase 1, like you mentioned. And that is the valley of the death. Very difficult. High failure, but high impact.
High impact, very
yes. And that's what we are continuing to push forward.
Right. And that's how we change things.
We are now working with people just like yourself. We get to see their dedication from up front and personal. The whole world is dedicated to the efforts and the sacrifice you made. Yeah, thank you so much.
Well, thank you. I know if there's any patients that are looking at how can they give back or how they can get involved, please, visit the website and tell your story. I really appreciate everything you all do. Amazing staff, amazing organization, and we got a lot of work to do because
I know
there's
still so much to do.
So much to do.
Yeah, we come a long way. We made a lot of progress in the last 15 years, especially. But there's so much more to do.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to reading your book and continuing to work together, helping patients. Thank you, Cheryl.
I appreciate it.
Thank you for joining us for this month's edition of All Things Cancer. Please subscribe so you don't miss future episodes. Learn more about how NFCR is working every day with the cancer research community to make cures possible at nfcr.org. You can also reach us on our call line at 800-321-CURE.